So let's start. So first of all, a little bit of background. So what is the driving force behind all our activities in whatever area in the Commission today? Is the EU2020 initiative proposed by President Barroso when he started forming the new College of Commissioners, which took office on the 9th of February 2010, excuse me. What happened is that based on the guidelines he presented in front of the European Parliament in order to get the endorsement after having been appointed by member states as the candidate to the presidency of the College of the Commission, immediately after taking office, on the 3rd of March 2010, we launched the EU2020 initiative, an initiative for smart, inclusive, and intelligent job and growth. And this is very important because there we have defined 7 flagship initiatives. And one of them is very relevant for issues related to interoperability, standards, and e-government. So I'm going to concentrate in the first place on the digital agenda, that is the framework in which we develop all our activities related to e-government and interoperability. So, what is the digital agenda about? First of all, we have started from the constatation that we have a number of barriers to the development of the digital society in Europe, such as lack of enough infrastructure, lack of security, lack of interoperability, fragmented digital markets, not enough research and development, and we are not responding well to societal changes. And we don't have all the necessary skills, both on the citizens and on the professionals. So if we want to convert this vicious circle into a virtuous circle, we need to deploy infrastructure, create content, and increase the service demand. And all that will be feeding back so that we progress in the future if we really want Europe to be really digital. And in order to tackle the 7 barriers that we have identified, we have created 7 types of actions. The first one is we need an European single market, very much in line with the internal market. I really liked what the minister in charge of e-government said from Estonia, that the important thing is not e-government, the important thing is the internal market. And the contribution of e-government to the internal market is significant. The second thing is interoperability and standards. We need to develop interoperability. We need to create cross-border interoperability. And for that, we need standards, relevant standards. And contrary to what everybody believes, we don't need very many technical standards. We need more organizational standards and legal standards. Third is related to trust and security. No trust, no access to content, no access to electronic services, no growth in the economy. Then we need infrastructure. We need a very fast internet if we want to compete globally. Then we need research and innovation. Innovation is the future if we want to fight for our life at the European level in the world. Of course, we need, as I said, enhancing e-skills from to citizens and to professionals. And finally, we have a number of challenges that we can meet with more and better use of ICT, more particularly in areas such as e-government or e-health. Commissioner Cruz, who is managing the whole digital agenda process, expressed that in a single phrase. The press guys said, but this is not possible. This is a phrase that doesn't have any verb. Still, I believe that this phrase is, this sentence is extremely meaningful. Every European digital, and this is quite challenging. So, 1 year after starting the digital agenda for Europe, which was presented in May 2010 under the Spanish presidency, we have progressed a lot. In some areas, not enough. In others, we have gone faster. So, this is the reality. The reality is that There are areas in red where we need progress, and we may fail to meet the deadlines. So we need to really work hard there. But there are others where we are doing very well. Interoperability and standard is pillar number 2. It's important, it's meaningful. We need an additional effort. And I'm going to tell you what we are doing in order to cope with this challenge. So what is the strategy and framework for e-government activities in general? First of all, the first reference is the ministerial declaration in Malmo in 2009. And the second is the large-scale projects that are funded by the Competitiveness and Innovation Program and the ISA, the program that my Director General is running since 2007 and that was approved in 2009 by the European Parliament and the European Council after first reading, showing a lot of support for our initiatives. And this is fully devoted to interoperability. This is the core, very much in line with the subject of this tutorial today. What did the minister said, endorsed also by the industry and the civil society, that we have 4 issues to tackle with e-government. Efficient and effectiveness of our government, empowering users, promoting the internal market, contributing to the internal market, and then developing the enablers and preconditions that are going to lead us to be able to meet the challenges in this area. We need a new generation of open, flexible, and seamless e-government services. Interoperability. There are plenty of interactions. There are interactions, cross-border interactions. There are interactions between public administration, most of them. As a matter of fact, there are plenty of things that are going on bilateral, multilateral. There are less that are going on at a cross-border European level. There are much less interactions today, real interaction between the citizens and business and administrations of other countries. This is the real challenge. How we develop and deploy those services so that somebody in Estonia could open a business in Spain with no problem, exactly at the same level as a Spanish citizen can do in the country. There are also interactions with the European Union administrations, but I have to clarify something. Citizens and business normally do not address us, only in very specific areas where they have the opportunity to apply for grants. That might be in the area of citizenship, that might be in the new European Citizen Initiative, that might be when they are applying for grants as a person of a university into the framework programs for research and innovation. But we don't have citizens as a customers except for information. And it's there we concentrate all our efforts. Our interaction with citizens and businesses in application of the subsidiarity principle is being carried out through European public administrations. And I believe that's very good. So, interoperability. We tend to think that we are going to solve all the problems at technical level. No. No, there are much more barriers at legal level, at operational level or organizational level, semantic. Don't forget one thing. There are 23 official languages in the European Union. And every citizen has the right, recognized by the treaties, to be addressed in their own language. And this is something we respect. When any citizen writes to the Commission, may write in his own tongue. And we have the obligation to translate that, to prepare the reply, and then to translate the reply back so that the citizen gets the reply into their language. It's a right. So we cannot dismiss that. And of course, technical. But you know, the internet has been so wonderful for the last years that I believe that never, at least in my experience in the Commission, never we had to stop any kind of deployment of an information system because of lack of technical standards. Never heard that. So we need really to concentrate on legal and operational and semantic. And we are doing pretty well on semantic, still on operational and legal. There are plenty of things to do. So, together with member states, during 2009 and part of 2010, we were developing an European interoperability strategy that is at the heart of the ISA program. ISA stands for Interoperability Solution for European Public Administrations. And those are the priorities that we are defined by our colleagues in member states as the focus for the program. First of all, we need to exchange information, but we need to exchange information in a trusted way. It's absolutely essential. Second, we need to create an interoperability architecture that is driving the way we are going to shape and to develop and deploy our services. And then, now every regulation, every directive is supported by an information system, by a website. It's at that moment, and based on the experience, on the bad experience, I would say, that we had in implementing the service directive, that we need to intervene so that everything is right at the legislation process, so that we can know very clearly what has to be done in order to support the objectives of the legislation. And we are now running a number of pilots with some of the legal initiatives in the Commission, so that we make sure that the IT issues are tackled properly. Excuse me. And in addition to that, in order to help ourselves, in order to help the people in member states that are busy with interoperability, in order to comply with one of the recommendations we receive on the evaluation of the predecessor of ISA called IWC, we need to create awareness. And we need to create awareness because interoperability in the empty space is very theoretical. So we need to refer to very practical cases where interoperability has enabled the deployment of a service with clear benefits, or to enhance and highlight that lack of interoperability is preventing some services from being deployed. And we are losing a lot of money and credibility with the citizens. They don't have to do the integration. We need to put them at the center. We need to integrate everything. We need to make everything interoperate at the European level if we really want the development of the single market and cross-border services. So, this is a strategy, and then we created a framework. This is the second version of the European Interoperability Framework. Very famous document, very much used as an inspiration by member states and other countries around the world. We apply the subsidiarity and proportionality. I mean, things will be done there where it's more effective. And the lowest, the better. Second is we need to meet user needs and expectation. And this is common for every system, be it national or European. And then we need to be based on collaboration. And collaboration requires openness, requires technology neutrality, and requires effectiveness and efficiency. And of course, the more we are going to reuse, the more we are going to learn from each other, the better will be for interoperability. When you reuse, de facto you are interoperating. One of the novelties into the European Interoperability Framework version 2 is this conceptual model. This is not an architectural model, nothing to do with implementation. It's just defining the layers of a typical public service, and I do not speak about electronic public services. This is a normal service. And it's very clear, if we do not solve the two levels at the bottom, we are not going to progress in government. And the minister in charge of e-government here said that very clearly. The access to the registries is vital, but the barriers are enormous. We are now running a study where we are identifying, we have asked member states to identify one specific register in order to analyze the barriers of accessing those data internally at national level and at European level. And it's amazing. It's amazing even within the countries, between the regions and the central government. I can tell you that there are already plenty of barriers at national level. If we do not solve them, we can forget about our cross-border services. We have very clear targets into the digital agenda for this specific topic of interoperability and standards. First of all, the first one, completed. The Belgian presidency organized an e-government conference very well organized, by the way, Frank, in Belgium in December 2010. And there, on the 16th of December, we presented the new version of the European Interoperability Framework and the European Interoperability Strategy, together with a communication from the Commission to the Parliament and the Council on the role of interoperability for cross-border services in Europe. Then we are now working on standards for e-procurement. I will speak about that a little bit later. And then by 2013, we have agreed with member states that they will be implementing the ideas of the EIF, European Interoperability Framework and Strategy, and the conclusions of Malmo e-government conference and Granada under the Spanish presidency into their own frameworks. And this is a very important challenge for them. But pretty well done in member states for the time being, because there are some of them that are very, very much advanced. Second is we are working on what we call the European Interoperability Architecture. Today, plenty of services, mostly between public administrations, are dealing with interoperability ad hoc. There are very little thing that is defined as necessary at the European level, building blocks that are being reused, or even some kind of reference agreement on which you can inspire your interoperability. What we expect to do is to identify more and more of those mandatory building blocks in order to favor cross-border interoperability, and to create more and more reference interoperability agreements that are going to inspire the future European public services, the cross-border services. So we expect that in the future we have the catalogs that are going to allow member states to pick and choose and develop according to those agreements. And that's going to greatly favor interoperability. Some examples. First of all, at the physical layer, if you want, ISA is funding now famous IP network called ESTESTA. ESTESTA is today joining together about 100 public administrations, be it national or European. And they can use it for cross-border e-government services between administrations, or they can also use it in order to develop more bilateral or multilateral services. It's increasing a lot the traffic, is encrypted into the backbone, and we are ready to certify, to classify the information whenever we find an application that will need it. We have all the procedures in place to proceed. Very interesting approach today, in nowadays, where there are plenty of dangers out there into the internet. Second, excuse me, large-scale pilot. You are going to hear a little bit today about one. I will mention that briefly, but the two colleagues that are here from Austria and Belgium, they have been the engines behind this large-scale project that is funded half by the Competitiveness and Innovation Program from the European Commission and by the member states participant. And they are now going to the second version of STORC, what proves the success of the first phase. We have others. PEPL devoted, the STORC is devoted to eIDs. PEPL is devoted to e-procurement. Codex is the change of judiciary information. SPOX deals with the service directive and the single point of contact in order to open business from one citizen or one business in a country to set up a business in another country. And EPSOS is related to the change of information related to patients. So your patient history can be a change between countries. This is quite an accomplishment in Europe that has to respect the four freedoms. Freedom of circulation of citizens, businesses, services, and capital. Extremely important. So I'm going to deal with people in the first place. So there are plenty of beneficiaries of PEPL. First of all, small and medium enterprises that want to bid for business in another country or in the same country by electronic means. Every country today has some kind of e-procurement system. I would say even many e-procurement systems. The challenge is how we are going to interconnect all those e-procurement systems in such a way that with my identity in the future, with my specifications, I can bid for business somewhere else. Governments, despite the crisis, are still one of the major purchasers of goods and services in Europe. So it's extremely important. Of course, you had to join together the contracting authorities. You had to bring together the industry, the standardization bodies. Multidimensional problem, but attacking it very well. We ourselves, funded by the ISA program, wanted to prove that because we are kind of a mini Europe, most of our call for tenders are launched at European level, and the bids are coming for consortia formed by companies around Europe. Today is a nightmare to sign a contract. Contract has to go on paper from one country to the other. So from Belgium to Greece, from Greece to the UK, and from the UK to Italy. So we need to solve that. The same thing with the invoices. The consortia has to sign. Well, we need to solve this issue. It's too long. The processing time and the processing cost on a per transaction basis is too high. So what we did is, we are going to prove that we can set up an infrastructure that allows us to do e-procurement with our partners and at the same time connects to the people infrastructure, that is the interoperability infrastructure to connect e-government platforms together with the industry. And we have proved that it's absolutely possible to receive electronic invoices from a company in one country through the people infrastructure to our back office systems. And we are going further than that. Based on the e-prior, this is our implementation of the e-procurement practices, communication layer, we are going to be able to generalize that so that we build what we call some kind of trusted exchange electronic platform. And it's exactly the same kind of technology and exactly the same kind of principles. And this is an example at the same time of reusability. This is at the heart of the ISA program. Let's go for eID. That is the second topic, or more particularly the focus of this session. There are two specific actions in the digital agenda that concern eID. One is the revision of the directive. The directive has been there, and you will see with the data I'm going to display later that despite the fact that the directive was pretty clear, we have managed to make a different implementation in different countries, and the situation is very diversified. The second is we know that we are not going to have a single identification in Europe. What we need to do is try to make those electronic identification around Europe work together. So mutual recognition is the word, and trusted mutual recognition, and we need to work on that. And this is 2011 and 2012. I can guarantee you that Commissioner Cruz is behind that full strength. In 2009, still under the IWC program, we ran a survey with an external company with member states. And this is the picture we found at the time. Has evolved a little bit, but not very much. I was informed yesterday by somebody working for the IPTS, one of the European Commission institutes in Sevilla, that through Eurobarometer, that is our survey kind of approach for the European kind of topics, that they have just completed a new study, and they have promised that they are going to give me a copy in order to update my figures. But as you see, how are we going to solve the issues of electronic identity in Europe? There are already 5 countries that do not have ID. So we need to find means to have some kind of electronic ID. And there are still 12 on paper, and there are 13 deploying. Some of them very fast. I mean, the path at which Estonia, Spain, Belgium, and others are deploying the electronic identities, the eID cards, is amazing. So technology is there. It's a matter of supporting and putting the right framework in place. And then for biometrics, that would be the next step. So there are no plans. There were no plans in 21 countries. So, on the identification, not too bad. 27 member states out of 27 were using PKI system. And others were still using, in addition to that, username and password with a single factor, multi-factor calculators and mobiles. And I really believe that the last one is the future, because everybody is going to own a mobile phone in the future, so a mobile device of any kind. And I believe that we should perhaps invest there. I am advising Moldova on their e-government strategy, and they don't have an electronic identity card. But nevertheless, they want to deploy e-government services. So they are now being advised by Estonia and Austria, that are pretty advanced in this area, to deploy mobile-based authentication. And this is the way they are going. They have just launched the call for tender. Jury is there, and he knows very much about that, if anybody wanted to know. But they are going pretty fast, and they can give you very good advice on how to progress quickly in e-government with a full top management support. I know that. Okay, so some of the challenges we need to meet is there is national ID numbers that they are not coordinated, they are not structured in the same way. So how we are going to solve this problem, and then how we are going to set up some kind of assurance policy for cross-border in the European Union. Those are the challenges we need to tackle now. So, Stork. You are going to hear a little bit about Stork with the colleagues from Austria and Belgium, but pretty much supported by a number of member states, and is about setting the framework for interoperability of eID. And the good news is that we read together this morning on our website that Stork is going to receive, is one of the winners of the EPSA 2011 Best Practice Certificate. So congratulations, guys. Well done. So at the basis is we know that citizens can interact with government with the electronic identities at national level. The challenge is how to do that at European level. And this is why Stork is there. And those guys with their own support, I mean funding support, plus the European Commission SIP support, have been progressing very well, and they are about to deploy the Stork 2.0. And he perhaps will give some kind of hints in their presentations. So, I wanted to refer again, as I presented e-prior as our contribution to the pilot on e-procurement. Our contribution to the Stork project funded by the ISA program is what we call the ECAS Stork integration. What does ECAS stand for? ECAS is our central service for authentication for all web applications, and it stands for European Commission Authentication Service. It's a service to which every web application will connect in order to authenticate the users. It's based on an open source tool called CAS, and an open source and an open protocol called CAS as well. And basically what it does is that creates a cookie into your browser, and has a timestamp and a live stamp as well. And based on that, you can authenticate to all our web applications. So what we intend to do is, in the first place, is ECAS allows all our internal users and more external users to connect to a number of applications that we are deploying, both for internal use and also for the use of other public administrations. And our objective in the future is that any kind of user, be it business, citizen, or employee, could connect to our back office system using their national identity card. This is the challenge. And as usual, technology is not a problem. As a matter of fact, we started in 2010 trying to see whether ECAS would accept other security providers. And we did it with something called Cibullet. And then very quickly, we said, why don't we try with the Belgian and Austrian ID cards? Because they were the engines behind Stork. It looked promising. So we said, it looks, it works. It's not only, now, not only we are going to do that internally, we are going to connect to the Stork infrastructure, and we are going to accept calls or identification through the Stork infrastructure to our back office systems. Then in August we said, well, I believe that we can do more countries, and this is what we did. And in November we had some kind of a big event. We put in place a new enhanced ECAS infrastructure, and we gave access with the identity card to one of our kind of collaboration system called Circa BC. That is some kind of open source tool that we have developed for us, and that we give away through the OSOR, Open Source Observatory and Repository system that we share with a member state and federates other forges from member states on open source software. And then in 2011, we are now enabling a number of external systems, such as the internal market information system or the registry for the carbon footprints called ETS through ECAS. Participants in those systems are going to apply for an ECAS ID, and we are now demonstrating that if they had the identity card and we could validate the certificates against a validation platform at national level, they could access our systems. And this is the way we work always, is we prove that that is technically possible. Now the barriers are organizational, semantic, and legal. Those large-scale pilots I mentioned before feedback each other, share a lot of technology and a lot of ideas. Our objective is that we don't develop things on a silo base. We reuse components of the different large-scale projects so that we create synergies. At the end of the day, this is a big, big, big change management process. And what is clear is that if you always do what you always did, you only will get what you always got. So we need to change. Thank you.
Thank you, Fransesco. I'm not on. Thank you very much. So, who is the next speaker? I think it makes sense to go straight to Stork. Yes? Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to sit over here so I can make faces at the speaker when they reach 10 or 12 minutes. If I put you off to
I
get
only
me to
got
move.
8 minutes now.
Ah, excellent.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay, what Paco presented was the European strategy and implementation. What I would like to show is what a member state does with interoperability and eID. I have a lot of slides, but I'll try to go through them in as soft as possible way. What I want to show you is to show how we try to build a society where e-government is in the best possible environment so that the citizen can function as good as possible, as well in a physical as in a virtual way. So if you want to do that, well then the first thing you need to do is to think about who are the players. You have on one side public sector, on the other side you have your citizens. So takes two to tango. So the first thing you need to do is try to analyze, well, who is this citizen? What does he want when it comes down to e-government? What kind of services does he want? How does he want to access these services? In which environment, with which tool, etc. And we then later on look at the same and ask the same questions for the public sector. But I think you can bring the answer to this question back to 4 major objectives. First of all, you need to identify the person or the citizen in his different facets. In his private life, he has a certain role to play, but in his professional life, he has another certain role to play, and we need to take care of both sides of that. I think, first of all, what he is trying to achieve is to, when he interacts with government, it has to be in the most efficient way. And understand by that his definition of efficiency, yeah, that can be different from citizen to citizen. Secondly, he wanted everything he does with government goes as fast as possible. So speed there is important. In the session earlier this morning, I think Slovenia said the best government is no government, meaning by that it's a government that has automated the services in such a way that it is transparent, that it works by itself, and so on. So speed is important. Thirdly, I think everybody wants that whatever is done in a full transparent way. And sorry, I could not find any other slide that presents it as clearly as that. But let's concentrate on the word of transparency and not so much on the picture. I think you all agree that government needs to be very open to what they do with your data, your private data, and that they show that they don't misuse it whenever they use it. And then finally, there's an element of cost. Of course, cost efficiency. Nobody wants to pay too much, but they want to get out of it as much as possible. So these are the 4 main goals that I think a citizen is looking for. Now, if you look at the other side, what does government want? What do we as civil servants want to achieve? Well, I think the answer to that question is probably the same as what the citizen wants. We also want to be efficient. We want to be as cost effective and spend as least money as possible. I think we all want to be transparent, and the tendency at least is to be more and more transparent what was it? Efficient, speed, transparent, and cost. I think these goals we all want to achieve them also. Now that we know what we want, I think you also need to look a bit deeper into what kind of citizen do we have in front of us. You cannot say, I have a citizen in front of me. You have a young generation who is coming there, who is using a number of tools who are maybe not the tools that we use. They use mobile phones. They write SMSs at the speed of light, and they write it in a coded way. So as a public authority, maybe we shouldn't we try to adapt to their way of communication instead of trying to impose a thing that we are used to. So we need to look at upcoming generations. The working citizen, he probably wants to be as efficient as possible, to have access wherever he is, and not to have to bother about technology, but just to be able to do the thing he needs to do. And then you have this still growing proportion of the society, which is the elderly, who struggle with technology, but who probably still want to be part of society. And for them, we need to make our services in such a way that they are usable for them and understandable for them. So this makes me think that whenever we build an infrastructure to make e-government, and whenever we need to translate that into building blocks and interoperability and so on, maybe we should keep all of that in mind and concentrate the way we communicate with them in such a way that it is usable for all these segments of population. Now, for us, we tried to translate this in the following way, that is, what citizens see are nice websites, or maybe websites that are made much nicer than really what you are capable of doing. So we think it's okay. It's good to make the website attractive, but I think the most important thing is that in your back office, you're well organized so that in the front office side, you can offer these services. In Belgium, we always say, back office, back office, back office. Start building a decent back office, organize it, secure it, before you start offering services on the front side. Because if you do the opposite way, you will get stuck one or the other day. So we concentrated on building our website. And as, well, you know, Belgium is pretty complex politically. We have different regions and entities and so on. So we had to build one common back office system and still allow the possibility for these regions and municipalities and communities on the front office side to build whatever services they wanted to. But we agreed to build together at least services where we put the citizen in the middle. And Paco already said it, citizen centricity is not just a word, it's really implemented in Belgium. And we build a number of tools around him and for him so that he can function much better. And we think that if we do that and we try to achieve that, then inevitably public sector will become more efficient also. First thing we had to do is to build this overall back office system infrastructure. We have the municipalities that are all located in Brussels. They all have their independent infrastructure. We don't interfere into there, but we created a metropolitan area network to interconnect them in an efficient way. We created a federal service bus on top of that to organize the traffic from one to the other ministry, and we secured it at the same time. We created a security layer, and with that actually you have the full back office system. We created on top of that the main entrance door or exit door, let's say, towards the outside world, which is the national portal website. And then there was just one thing missing, which was some kind of a secure key to get into that world. And for us, this is the national identity card. And the ID, the eID, is really a key to open a door and nothing more. Well, at least that's the strategy we took. So there's not much on the card. It's just the minimum information that I need to identify a citizen or call it a customer or whatever. I identify him in a strong way and I open the door. And of course, the consequence is that you go online to an application to do the rest. And that's the main philosophy of the whole interoperability back office system and the eID. So, as I said, the electronic identity card plays a key role in the whole game. We think that whatever you do, whether you're physically in front of a civil servant or whether you're behind your PC on a website, you always start with identification. And we, Belgian society, said, well, we are best placed to build that tool, to distribute it to our citizens so that everybody can be identified. We have an identity card which is mandatory in Belgium as soon as you have the age of 12, but we created two variants, a kid's ID for children under 12, which is absolutely on a voluntary basis, and we have also an identity card for foreign residents, also that is mandatory. But these three altogether, actually you have all the Belgians or all those who are officially residing in Belgium. And they have a tool that we give them that allows them to identify themselves and to function in society. Now, you have this back office system, you have this key to go into this world. Now, let's talk about the applications. We in Belgium, we decided not to concentrate on applications, strangely enough, but more on concentrating on building tools and building blocks and developer kits so that those who want to build applications can do that in the best possible way. So the approach is a bit different. As a consequence, you see, ooh, I'm in trouble. You see a number of people developing applications all over. Now, again, this eID for me is an eID that I can use as well in a physical world. For instance, in a municipality, in a library, I have an obvious way to access a library. In a swimming pool, where I used to have to identify myself and show that I am an inhabitant of that municipality. Now I just insert my ID in a card reader and I can enter the thing. Same for container parks. Now I have a gate with a card reader where we used to have civil servants checking identities. You go to a disco, you need to be 18. They will ask you to insert your ID in a card reader so they can check your date of birth. They will not take or store any data, they just use it as a tool to select. A nice one here is a vending machine where you can buy Coke or beer, but in case you want to buy the beer, you first need to insert also the identity card to prove that you're 18, and then only the beer drops out. Secondly, we build a number of tools. I need to go fast. Oh God, I'm in trouble. Again, we build tools so that life becomes easier for either those who want to develop or those who want to use it. This I want to show. It's a screenshot of the Belgian portal website. There is a little button that allows you to use it with your identity card. And while we make the link with you as a citizen and the services there, I can just personalize the portal website and just bring your personal data and show them on the screen. I'm going to go faster than that because I'm out of time. For municipalities, who are actually the number one link with government, we built little pieces of code that allows them to just copy and paste and insert it into their websites so that they have an easy way to have a very well developed website. Finally, just as a conclusion, what are we building now? First of all, we are developing much further identity and access management in all its flavors. We try to make whatever service we build as hardware agnostic as possible, because we think it's up to the citizen to decide which tool he wants to use to connect with government, which he feels much more comfortable with. It's quite a challenge, this one. And then second, finally, we want to be as transparent and as open as possible. So here, Belgium, we need to do a bit more. We are behind on other countries. This is my last slide. You've seen this back office system. We're building this further so that regions and municipalities can also benefit from it. And upwards, we interconnect with other countries. So, and I have no time, but so that we can just open the same and extend it further to the whole of Europe. Sorry about that, but it's in a nutshell what we try to do. Thank you.
Thanks very much for that. I'm glad you stopped before I wanted to move to Belgium, because it was almost happening. Peter, is it?
Yes.
It would make sense to have you next. Okay. A little bit of time, so happen to finish early, that would be
Sorry.
It would be an interesting challenge for speakers. Start from your last slide.
Yeah, from practical stuff. Yeah.
What?
Just get to your last slide. I think that would be.
Well, I could present that one, but those are not my slides, so it might be quite a challenge for me and for you as well. Perhaps we can put on the Austrian slides, please.
While that's happening, so that to streamline the questions at the end, I'll give priority to anyone who tweets their question.
Well,
Go ahead.
who do we address it to? Tweet? To
Oh,
you?
just hash Oster.
Okay, perfect. So these are, in principle, the topics I would like to run through. That's the Austrian eID, which is called the citizen card concept. And then the newest innovation we have in Austria, the aspect of interoperability, and then I'd like to touch upon Stork and the future challenges. So let's see how far we get within the 10 minutes. The citizen card, we started with that in the year of 2000, and we issued from the beginning of 2003 the first citizen cards, and we had the e-Government Act in the year 2004. So beginning from 2004, we have prepared an overall framework for e-government law containing all the aspects on eID. So the citizen card concept itself and all the issues which are connected to that, for instance, mandates for legal persons and so on. So I think that was one of the major forerunners, so to say, in Europe concerning the legal basis for e-government and eID. So what is the citizen card concept about? It's, in comparison to Belgium, not one single card or one specific medium, but it's a generic concept behind that, which is held by different media. So the notion of card, citizen card, is not the best word chosen for that in the year of 2004. It combines two elements mainly. The one is a qualified electronic signature for declaration of intent, authentication, and the other one is the unique electronic identity for identification purposes, and that goes with specific data on representation and mandates. So the two aspects we have here is one, the certification service provider on the one hand, which is in Austria A-Trust, the service provider issuing qualified certificates, but it may be any other certification service provider in accordance with the signature directive. And the other aspect is public sector registries delivering the data for the unique identity, that is the Central Register of Residents in Austria and a so-called supplementary register, which we need for all the people not living in Austria. And those two aspects form the so-called electronic identity. What are the citizen cards, so to say? On the one hand, we have cards, physical cards, chip cards. All the e-health insurance cards in Austria can bear the element of citizen card. You can activate it free of charge in Austria, but also, for instance, officials' cards, like my card that I'm identifying myself as a collaborator for the Federal Chancellery, that bears also the qualified signature and the element of identification, and so on and so forth. And the next element we introduced in 2009 is mobile phone signature, which is also issued free of charge. What is the purpose of all that? I don't go into detail. We have more or less the similar applications and functions. You heard about that. That's signature, that's access within administration to e-government and for e-commerce, e-business purposes. And we as well have an open source program. This is the address of the platform eGov Labs, and there you find all the open source modules you would need to integrate that electronic ID or the citizen card function in the different applications. So we have card-based and mobile phone signature as the two ways of having citizen cards. For the card-based, we have local software to be installed on the one hand, and on the other hand, a minimum footprint software which comes with your browser, so you won't even have any installation of software for your PC. It runs through an applet in the browser. And the third way is the mobile phone. So what is it? This is the innovation we have. I don't have the possibility to show you the log-on itself. This is the main e-government portal we have in Austria. You would see here the possibility to log in to your personalized offer. You click on Handy, which is the Austrian word for mobile phone, and then you type in your mobile phone number and your password, which you have chosen yourself previously, and then you receive on your mobile phone an SMS containing a one-time code, ephemeral code, which is valid for 5 minutes. You type that in. You can have an additional look, of course, on your signature data behind that. There is a specific data you have displayed also on your mobile phone, so you can compare for security reasons. And if you click on that, it's signed, and then you enter the application. That's it. So what is the mobile phone signature therefore? It's a server-based citizen card function solution which produces electronic signatures which are qualified electronic signatures in accordance with the European Signature Directive. We use familiar technology. Everybody has in his hand a mobile phone, so it's no burden anymore. You won't have any software installation on your PC. No specific skills are required. No card reader is required. So I simply go to the next internet cafe and use my citizen card function using my mobile phone. So this is provided, as I said, by the certification service provider. The signature creation data is kept with this certification service provider in a hardware security module, securely stored, encrypted, and so on. So we have basically the two-factor authentication, knowledge and possession, and the whole thing, the hardware security module, is confirmed by a notified body in accordance with the requirements of the Signature Directive. So in comparison with what we see, for instance, from Estonia, we don't have any specific requirement on the phone itself because the signature creation data is not kept on the SIM card, on the phone itself. It is server-based, which means that you simply can use that by receiving an SMS, so and no requirement at all on the phone. So I skip some of those. So it's free of charge, I said that, platform independent and so on, that's quite clear. The registration possibilities is self-registration by a qualified signature you already have in your hands, or you go to a registration authority, or you use other trusted systems like Finance Online or e-banking system to activate that. The interoperability issue, that is an important issue I wanted to tackle about. We have integrated a framework in our e-Government Act for recognition of foreign eID in the Austrian system. So we issued 2 years ago a specific legal regulation on that, and we recognized 11 eIDs of other countries, of other member states, as completely equal as the Austrian citizen card. So being in Estonia right now, we have included those 2 Estonian eIDs in our system. So basically everybody having in his hand such an Estonian ID can use completely interoperable and completely recognized the Estonian eID. The Stork, I only show the outcome. We have the different demonstrators, different pilots. Different pilots in place, and the conclusion is it really works. We see that from the different applications. Paco told about Circa BC and the ECAS. We have the Estonian e-government portal, we have the delivery services of Austria and of Slovenia, and so on and so forth. So, for instance, if I show you how I log into the Austrian delivery service, you click on the Stork, then you will see that you have a drop-down list for other member states, you choose Estonia, and then it opens the Estonian website where you simply use your Estonian eID, and as soon as you finish that procedure, you are logged into the Austrian e-delivery service. So is the mission complete? Well, we've seen how we can solve the problems technically, but we have lots of future challenges before us. We are right now preparing for Stoke 2.0, where we are concentrating on issues like non-natural persons and the question of mandates and representations between them. The issue of mobility is a very crucial issue for all that, with all the convenience, simplicity things. And the last word, which draws a bit a hint to the afternoon session, cloud computing and eID may be a quite thrilling and exciting experience. So complexity reduction is at stake. We need to simplify the legal framework and the usage of all that. This is it in a nutshell. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you, Peter. Okay. Pedro, where's
Is this mine?
Please, the last.
you want to be last because you're going to be the most exciting.
The European people first, because I am not in the European community, and Argentina have another point of view.
Okay. Thank you. Please.
There.
So I'm representing Data Exchange Agency of Georgia. So our agency was created last year in January, and we are responsible on e-government development, the creation of data exchange infrastructures. This is like how we are implementing interoperability in our country, and elaboration, information security and policy. So generally, from 2003, Georgian government starting very active and aggressive reforms in public sector, and main purpose of reforms is like efficiency to save time, money, so make much more easy, make availability for consumers, for citizens, for business, and etc., etc., and also transparency and accountability. And all of us agreed. So information technology is best solution for this. To resolve all these problems and simplify any business process or make it in transparency or cost efficiency and etc. etc. So during last 2 years, here is like project which is implemented by Georgian government. So here is, I think, from my point of view, it's a really big number. So we have like e-treasury, e-filing system, e-procurement, e-auction for governmental goods. In schools, we are just delivering notebooks for beginners, and etc., etc. So generally, during implementation of this project, all governmental agencies have problem. We have like limit budget, we have like limited resources of IT specialists, and so all these problems are known for every public sector, and so it's very understandable. And in first time when we developing this information system internally, it was main purpose to serve business needs of any public organization. Let's say for civil registry, it was very critical to organize, automate internal business process. Same was for Ministry of Finance, same was for public records, etc., etc. But after this, when we already developed these information systems, it's become necessary to starting exchange information between information systems. Like currently, when you are registering property, it's need just public registry is required information from civil registry or Ministry of Finance regarding tax liability and etc. etc. And also we are delivering services to business sector. Let's say when citizen is take loan and he is like try to get hypothec credit. So this means we have to get information from public sector, public service. Also, we need some information from civil service, registry, and etc., etc. And this is how it's looked today, our current infrastructure. So this means in every information system we are developing special module. It's connected to other information systems throughout VPN, and etc., etc. And consumers of each information system is growing, and to keep this kind of system alive, it's very difficult. It's not cost effective, and here is like compromise different issues like security. Also, it's very difficult to monitor who is and why accessing personal information, and etc., etc. What's our agencies try to implement? This is like main principles. what we would like implement. So one-stop shop silence is consist and to easier delivery for services for citizens. And we, from beginning of this year, we starting implementation of data exchange infrastructure. So data exchange infrastructure is look like this. This is concept. All agencies will be publishing their services to our agency's infrastructure, and throughout these services, throughout our data exchange infrastructure, it will be possible to access any governmental information, any information which is exists in public sector. Also, we will allow to using this information to this infrastructure to business sector. So let's say this is this example. So business will deliver request to our agency. Our agency will be analyze this request. The request can contain like different requests. Maybe will require from different agencies information. So this request will be delivered to appropriate ministries, way will be just delivered back response, and so we are merging this response and deliver back to business. So this is general main concept of what we would like. So this is like high-level architecture design of this our system. We have like core system, governmental gateway it's called. To access also this system will be have like presentation layer. Through presentation layer, it can be it will be accessible services from for citizens, businesses, governmental employees. Also, it can be like direct access. We have direct access from information systems like you can create application and integrate services which is exist and published on our governmental gateway in your information system. Currently, you know, it's impossible to have like we have in country like one tax system, okay, e-filing system, because like Ministry of Finance is a natural monopoly for this. But when this kind of infrastructure will be exist, so it means business can also create like different applications, and they can propose to citizens like different e-filing systems, or yeah, it will be very good for government and also for business. This is like detailed functional view. So we have like presentation layer. It's like absolutely so in architecture, and I think I not will spend your time to discuss these things. So what we would like to have like e-governments, what is our vision? So all all governmental structure will be interconnected throughout data exchange. And so it will be help like it will be help us to proper planning of state budget. Let's say we have like a lot of pensioners, lot of refugees, so it will be like accumulate this data in one place, and during budget planning also yeah, we will be improve duplicates in different places. So we will be have like we will be know which registry contain like primary data. And so all others registry will be take direct this data for their purpose. What we are planning to build up to this infrastructure. So this is first of all this joint document exchange system. So any public organization will be starting exchange information between each other throughout this infrastructure. Also, we will create special electronic message delivery system to citizen, which will be have like legal aspects. We will create citizen portal. So in this portal we will integrate in next slide I will show this concept, and TradeNet. This is TradeNet where we will concentrate on trade-oriented organizations. We will integrate all organizations like custom, tax, seaport, railway, forwarder companies, and etc. And so all of them will integrate in one logical system, and throughout one-stop shop, traders can arrange all business processes throughout this system. So this is like a citizen portal, how we think it will be look like. So all informations and all services related to citizen will be delivered throughout one citizen portal, and also citizen will be allowed to see who and when request information about this person. This will be increased transparency and accountability, and so citizen will be have also access. Citizen will be have much more control when even we have today. So of course we just pick a lot of time, a whole day, so it's also very important security. Our agency is also responsible on information security. We are working, we are responsible on public sector and critical infrastructure, and we're not responsible on defense in secret information. In general, what we are doing in information security is like we are responsible to develop policy, implement, and also in sometimes to doing audit in public sector and critical infrastructure. And also under our agencies exist CERT Georgia, and we are doing penetration of information systems, network monitoring, and also in every aspects we are doing a lot of public awareness campaigns. It's because our agency is new, and especially CERT was starting in this year. We are just initiating these projects. So eID, so here is like how long we was start developing this process. So in 2006 was first draft of this law, 2007 law was adopted, 2008 we have like technical recommendation. After this, government's plan was to not to allow business to just introduce e-signature and e-signature, but unfortunately Georgian business, and also we have like few tenders, but unfortunately, you know, business not was ready. I don't know, we not see like market value for this project for Georgia, maybe because we are small country and penetration of internet is not very high. And in this year, public registry, civil registry was started implementation of this eID, and in August already we have like eID and e-signature inside. So this is like how it's looked. So already 1 year we are just distributing this eID, and our eID have like two interfaces, like contactless and contact. It's have like one chip. So contactless interfaces will be used for small payments. It's like interface for businesses. So they can just certify their application, and civil registry will help them to put a proper certified applications, and this will be used for, let's say, banks, small businesses, and etc. etc. So it's already business have like big interest to put their own applications here. And of course, contact interface. So it's contain two certificates for authentication and for digital signature. And so online authentication we speak already a lot of times. So it can happen from any place, and also e-signature. So what's social effect we will have? Like transactional costs will be decreased, environmental cost, corruption, because its interaction between like citizen and public administration will be decreased, number of interactions, and so we will be increased productivity, citizen satisfaction, and competitiveness. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. There is one saving grace in our slight overrunning with all of this content, in that much of it overlaps with the cloud tutorial session this afternoon. So if you have a burning question that you don't get to ask about eID or interoperability, you can bring it to that and confront many of the same people and have your say. So, are we staying in Europe? We're staying in Europe. We're staying in Estonia. Not with Marcus as advertised, but you will have to introduce yourself, because you are not.
Yes, and as I don't have my bio at the book, then I was asked to do a short presentation, who am I? So basically, yes, I'm working in the same department as Margus Pia. I've been involved with eID project in Estonia in various different ways. First, at the very early deployment phase, when the cards were basically issued, and then I've been seeing it as I've been creating services while being in a private company meanwhile, and then coming back to the government and being a government advisor about how it all should fit together. So out of the 10 years, 9.5 years of experimenting with Estonian identity card and eID, I've now been asked to do a 10-minute conclusion of what we've learned. So it's, and I'm sometimes very critical person, so I will also focus a lot on what hasn't been working out, or what the issues are, and what the issues are still, even if we consider how it all fits to the European Union context. So first of all, listening to these presentations and then listening to the interoperability and the services and how eID shall and is used, I would say that that we are having a lot of very good overviews about what the infrastructures in different countries look like now, and it is all very nice and neat. While at the same time, if we look at the interoperability in the European Union wide, and if we look at the digital single market, and if we look what it all is about, then we should say, or at least it's becoming more and more obvious, that this electronic identity is somewhat a band-aid to remedy many things which are becoming more and more obstacle inside the European Union, because if we talk about digital single market, then it is basically a very obvious concept that if somebody wants to do business in Europe, he should do business in Europe rather than doing business on individual countries. And if we look at the United States, they pretty much solved it. There are many states, but still the same country. Pretty much it's homogeneous around different states. We don't have that benefit. So if somebody wants to do business in Europe, he has to figure out where he wants to do it. And then basically everything else will be the hassle to figure out how it works in a particular country. It's not too different, but it's annoyingly different still. And the eIDs and everything what we've seen so far here is, I think, absolutely inevitable part of making it happen, because it's the true interoperability is not that if we can connect two if you can connect two IT systems, well, we can send email to each other if nothing else works, but technicalities are all doable. The techniques is almighty, it can do anything. The question is in processes, and then sometimes what we've learned is that those processes are coming very deep down to the how member states behave, because for example, we have issued electronic ID for a long time, and we've been trying to promote it pretty much to anybody who have been able to listen, both for the economical reasons that if we can sell the same concept to somebody else, there are less standardization what has to be happen later to make it all compatible, up to the point when we feel that being a small country would have benefit of if you get your technology in, the world becomes a little bit wider for you and a little bit less expensive to work at. And so we found all kinds of strange and interesting findings during that process. For example, the one thing is that we're talking about single electronic identity, and we're talking about accepting each other's identities. And that is all very, very nice concept, except that then at some point you will figure out that although we all talk about the same things, there is not really a framework how the single identity should be implemented in a policy way. And so what we end up is that, for example, on Estonian case, you have your three ministers fighting to each other, telling who should be responsible of assuring that the particular PK infrastructure is valid, that the keys are valid, and the companies running it are not phonies, but they are real companies and not trying to, I don't know, hijack Estonia with the false identities coming from the Belgium. And then you have these negotiations. And everybody's agreeing that the system is in place and it should work, and that we trust that Belgium and Austria and whoever else have made a good representation with their eIDs. But still, you have this little layer of legality or legal issues when all of a sudden people start to think, is it my job? Is it their job? Is there any money involved that they can get for doing that job? maybe I can get some of that money and say that I will do that. So So these issues are something what we are all facing now, and these are not easy things to counter, because we now have, if you enter to the Estonian companies registry, then on the front page you will be able to use 4 foreign identities at the moment. I'm not even sure why Austria is not in that list, but the Belgium, Portugal, Finland and Lithuania are there with their identities. And technically it's all solved, and we've been somehow agreeing also that how the process of acceptance works. But for example, adding more countries there is a little bit difficult sometimes, because let's say that somebody will deploy the electronic identity. There are no guidelines for deploying electronic identity. The only guideline is that you likely should do a public tender. And you are none of the countries are in a position to very tightly specify who should win the public tender and with what technology. So it basically means that there is an open season in everywhere the electronic identity will be deployed. And yes, whatever you do, you will at the end of the day be able to connect back offices with each other. But the question is that how much work that takes is not specified. We don't have a single, still in a countries, we don't have a single decision what application, if any additional to the signature and authentication, can be on the card. I like Georgian approach very much with putting a RFID part on it, because what we found here is that if you want to have a services deployed, then you have to do it simple. You have to make people simple things to do with the card, so that they will get used to the idea that they have a card. And then you can move on to the more complex things, and adding all digital signatures and all kind of complicated processes behind it. But it starts from the simple thing. Maybe as simple as a door access. On Estonian case, it was a public transportation, which was really the first application becoming very popular, because municipality was starting to use. And this was the moment when people started to feel that this real physical card is somewhat useful. Of course, there was complicated digital uses before. Everybody were trying to sign into their tax board with that before, and then making their tax declaration. But this wasn't as effective, because you still had other means of entering. So this small step from going from the bank identity cards to the national identity card, this little step was somewhat difficult to make. So there are such issues what are very closely tied with an interoperability, and being able to treat Estonia, Europe, as a single market from Estonian perspective. But it's a lot of work and negotiations unifying it, and it probably will not even happen in a one pass. It will probably be an iterative process, and we probably have to revisit the whole idea of having this single identification space several years on, because as different countries have started implementing it a little bit differently, there will probably be some point when the common sense and common ground will be developed, what says that, okay, this is probably what it should more or less look like at the end of the day. And we are still very far away from that, because if you looked at the slides earlier, then not many countries today have deployed anything which is both legally and technically sound. There's a lot of different initiatives, there's a lot of different ideas, but only very few countries have it solidly implemented, that the legislative means can be said that the signature given with the national PKI infrastructure is exactly the same legal grounds as your physical signature, or your identity can be checked with that infrastructure 100% certainty, with 100% certainty, as much as you would be physically there. So this much about the view, that what we see, what is going to happen next. I still have a minute and a half probably left, so I'll show a couple of the slides there as well about what we've been doing, and if you look at this picture, no Estonian can do any presentation for the e-government without showing this totally obscure slide to everybody. But But the idea is that if you look at why there is no way of doing anything like that, like e-government without electronic ID in place, then this is this picture. You have to have this some sort of middleware that runs it all. You have to make this middleware secure somehow. So you obviously have to have the PK infrastructure. So unless somebody invents something more clever for that. And now all these different institutions providing data to that infrastructure. On Estonian case, we don't access the data directly, but we have the views to the data from the different databases, and then it is all composed here and given as a data set from all that rather than the particular records. You will end up with absolutely inevitable need for public servant authentication, because otherwise the system will be abused sooner or later. Now, if you let the citizen in there, you have absolutely no way of doing it without authenticating the citizen. But if you've given full government data to him, it better be something better than password and the username, because that's gonna be very difficult to implement state-wise for all the systems for just the security reasons by itself. So you have to go, and now this layer has somehow to connect all the member states at some point. And this is not going to happen without having an eID in place. So with a lot of inventions what we still have to do in order to make it homogeneous and make it work, and all the initiatives what we have in place throughout Europe, I think they are very, very good, especially STORK, which has taken it both on the technical side and on the corporate side of how it fits together. So I think that's as much as I have to say about that.
Very good to see this again. And now we are in Europe. Completely. And with Pedro, we're moving down south a long way.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Your Spanish is better than my English, sure. I try to speak in English. I prepare one speech, but first I want to talk about 2 or 3 things. First, I am very agree to listen from the people of the community, the Europe community, because our problems is the same. We have the idea, like Paco, we don't have any technical problems. It's a legal problems, it's cultural problems, and it's for the framework to give this service. But the solution in Europe not is the same in Argentina or Latin America, because we have another problem. We have, I don't know in Europe, but in Argentina we have the problem from the social inclusion. Not everybody have computer laptops, iPads like us, because if not make the social inclusion a reality, we can make a digital inclusion. Our problem is this: the people need the computer to can access to the e-government, and this is our work to can't push these people to the government. I prepare a few words. Sorry, I need to read it, and if anybody want to stop me to make a question, no problem. The second, please. E-government is not the same as years ago, but the road to success is that citizens can really use it, and for that we must give security for these transactions. It's very hard, my presentation, but next. Okay. Everybody knows this. This is the IT governance. We know it. We can implement it in Argentina. We make hard working in the last 2 years, but this is not the problem. E-government, while the system of governance and technology standards are the same for all, solutions are not the same to implement in each country. I write this 2 days ago, maybe, but all the speaker, maybe the idea is the same. Everybody have one solution for each country. Maybe the work is in the interoperability and the standards to can communicate between us, but don't have one silver bullet, one strongest idea for all the people. It's not the same solution for a company that for government. It's not the same for a project in Estonia than in the United States, Japan, or Argentina. Each country has its law and customs, but what is the same is the goal, having a reliable e-government. Argentina has 40 million citizens, and the digital inclusion should be eliminating the digital gap. But the challenge was how to provide tools without giving security to that identity. All the people in 3 years, 1 year ago and 2 years more, the people in the school year have your netbook because a lot of people can't, the parents can't buy it, but the government give to these people the netbook to can access. Let's consider that the project Conectar Igualdad aims to digital integrate more than 3 million students in only 8 months. More than 1 million netbooks were delivered to students, reaching more than 4,100 schools nationwide. Considering also that we carried out the Argentina Connected program, which in a month will provide free internet access to more than 3 million people in the first instance and in 3 years to entire population. We are making technical hard work, but we maybe have one problem if we don't ensure, we don't make a stronger security identity to can access to the government information. We are the keeper of the information about the citizens. We are not the owner, and we need be stronger and secure of these transactions. We have created a critical infrastructure protection and cybersecurity information program, reinforcing the action that we were developing, extended powers in the digital infrastructure protections, and also fortify and updated the digital signature structure for all the procedures. We have a law. This is a law for the people from Estonia. I talk about this. For us, the digital signature is valid if you can make some specific scenarios. Process and procedures is very strongest. But however, the data and identity theft continues working. As you can see, these are just some of the facts in 2011. Everybody knows these numbers and these companies and the stolen of this data. In Argentina, by law, citizens are registered from birth. As you know, human beings are born with biometric data. Then parents assign a name and the state a number. But in the digital world, one chooses usernames, passwords, digital signatures, and even federation, thus creating a cyber identity. That is why we must think to reinforce our mechanism for digital identity with a triple factor. Something that I am, something I have, and something I know is our way. No, it's your way maybe, but our way, yes. We have the law to can register biometric data and use it in favor of the citizens. Of course, the preservation of this data must meet the minimum requirements to ensure citizens' privacy, being more than necessary to alliance between government, association, and business to create a trusted identities ecosystem. Referring to consolidate biometrics for digital identity, we plan to use interoperability based on the ANSI NIS standard. This is all our biometric database only in Argentina. We have a very hard work in the last 10 years to make the duplication and only one database for all biometric information from the citizen. It's a first line into the world against the identity stolen. We must consider that within interoperable biometric information in Latin America, there are more than 380 million records. And as you can see, 6 countries concentrate 88% of the total records. The Iberoamericano framework was adopted for the social electronic identification, incorporating biometrics as identification tools. Everything to preserve the citizen identity in every way and in all their dealings with the government. Considering every point, we are working to make the internet a safer place for everyone. The idea is someone in Argentina can take a PKA, a digital signature, from a company or from another country, or with, I don't know the name, if the paper, when you, cuando haces un DNI trucho. Fake ID, thank you. We are making 2 years ago the new identification system in Argentina, and now we are working in the electronic identification, electronic e-passport. But we have a lot of years ago 5 or 6 documents, and we can't say if this document is real or not. We prefer use the biometric to check if you are you, and not only invoke or trying to make your identity and try to access your data. This is the idea. Thank you.
Allow me to get the microphone. Thank you very much. We have 10 minutes left for questions, because I promised to finish in time for lunch. If the panelists could move that way. They've been sitting there so they could see each other's presentations, not so that they would just have their backs to you. We have, Stephen was actually first with the question, but Gideon's relates more obviously and follows very nicely to what we've just seen. So would you like to ask it yourself, or would you like me to paraphrase you? Okay, question, what are the biggest risks do you see for identity theft, and how have you dealt with them?
Well, this is not an easy question to reply. I mean, there are. We have seen the situation out there. I mean, Pedro displayed the slide. So, I mean, if you apply the rules and you tight security, you are decreasing your likelihood to be attacked. But the biggest risk, in my opinion, is internal. I mean, internal. I mean, there are plenty of situations. We were speaking to Peter before, and I was out there advertise this kind of hacking of one of the systems in Austria. And as a matter of fact, it looks like it was somebody who delivered the data. We, in our institutions, we have a problem with leaks. So it's not nothing to do with electronics. The weakest point is a human. You can apply all the rules you want. If somebody fail into the change to comply with the rules, you have to put as many controls as people. Is very tough. So zero risk does not exist. What you have to apply is a reasonable security. You have to create awareness, and you have to have good audit and monitoring capabilities that are going to give you the track to possible kind of fake identity or leaks. Perhaps somebody else wanted to add something.
Well, for me, I think you can always try to be ahead of those who want to do identity theft. I think, let's face it, identity theft will happen, yeah, in some or another form. I think the biggest risk is how public sector does damage management and how they handle the crisis when it happens. I think it's nothing that is as worse as having losing the trust of your citizens because of that. So it's all the way how we will manage it and recover it and get this trust again at the level that we need to have it. That's for me the biggest threat.
Yes, with now issuing identity cards for pretty much everybody in the country, I think it is time to make a difference between identity theft and somebody else doing transactions on your behalf. And the question is that most of the things what we refer as identity theft is actually when somebody is doing transactions on your behalf and you don't know that. So for example, on Estonian case, what we've done is that we've been trying to make everything you do with your digital identity as transparent to the identity owner as possible, so that that this identity theft moment wouldn't happen, that the physical crime of somebody else doing transactions without your consent would be as early stage on possible to discover as possible. And it is also somehow doesn't make sense to do it all by the government, in a sense that we are not able to deploy 100 public servants to monitor if everybody's behavior patterns look the same today as they were yesterday. So we've been delegating it more or less to the citizen in a way that they can do this by themselves in their portal. And now the question is that we just should work on the awareness that people would actually do check what has been done with their identity.
I mean, just to follow up on that, is there a significance in, do you think, in how many factors of identity verification are used in Argentina? Oh, sorry. Sorry, I was just asking if there was any significance in the different levels of identity authentication. In Argentina, you use triple factor. In other countries, it seems only 2 factors. Do you think that makes a big difference?
The more barriers you put, the better. But at the same time, the best possible way of defeating, of bypassing kind of security is imposing too many things. So you have to find the right balance. I believe that two-factor authentication is already something that is reasonable, good, and the way you implement it is meaningful. I mean, implementing that with something that you like the GSM that you are going to, the cell phone that you are going to take with you, for me is much better than giving the citizen or the user very many kind of devices that they had to remind the password and so on and so forth. That's I believe that we need to find the right balance in order to lower the risks.
Well, in any case, user ID and password as only one factor, so to say, is what should not really be recommended anymore for any application and system. So we really count on the two-factor authentication system we have in place in Austria. Of course, what Paco said before, the human factor as risk element is what counts in the back office. Is one element which we tried to solve as well, and I did not go into detail here in the presentation because it then would take another 10 minutes or so, is we tried to separate the identifiers for data protection reasons which are used for the persons in the different fields of application of the governments. So we don't have one unique identifier in place in Austria which you use in all different sectors of businesses and of government, but it's only the user who has in his hands with the citizen card concept the identifier, and we make one-way hash functions for deriving sector-specific identifiers which are used then in the different applications. So my identifier which is used for finance applications, and my identifier which is used for, let's say, e-health applications is completely different, and they can't be related to each other, and there is no way of transforming that without my my active involvement with my citizen card function. So this is one element which we introduced in Austria to separate those things and minimize data protection risks.
Perhaps I can add something that because we had some kind of security incident and we implemented for external access, apart from the token access that we had before, for two-factor authentication. So what we are doing now is going back from one password for everything to 3 passwords. One for the internet access in order to avoid traffic outbound, one from inside our network, one for accessing the workstations for employees, and one for accessing the application. Well, I have to say that it's a tough time for the users, but we consider it absolutely essential. Of course, we are advising the user that at the end of the day, having 3 kind of password can be easily solved if you properly put a couple of characters in a random way, giving the same mnemotechnics. But from a kind of security point of view, is quite safe. And I foresee for the future that things are going to be more complicated. And I do agree with what Frank said. We need to prepare for the worst. I mean, we need to enhance the response capabilities, because incidents, the probability for incidents are higher than 0%. So they are not 100%, but certainly is not nil.
And don't forget, in Latin America, the people, it's common to obtain the identity document, put your fingers and the facial records. For us, it's usually. In other countries, not. For us, is the triple factor is for default. Is default for us, okay? And in Argentina, especially, the identity is only one. All the I don't know the name, the taxes, the driver license, and the education, and all the other data is attributes from this identity. I have only one identity in my country, and this, if I have or I wanna electronic ID, it's over this identity, not to the second or third identity.
Thank you. Now, we did have another question. It was about interoperability. It was going to be very interesting, but it is on Twitter. So I'd like to take things a step further and suggest that Fransesco and the others reply via Twitter to Stephen's excellent question. It's probably going to be actually it's a very much EC-oriented question, but okay. Well, I'd like to thank all of the speakers and for the amount of insight that you've managed to cram into 10 minutes, and I'm sorry for sitting there staring at you at the wrong moments. Hopefully, those who are interested, I imagine all of this data is openly available, and people can find your slides and they can find out more about the way you do things. Thank you very much.
Thank you.